Welcome to postyourworld.com. The year is 2025. The United States, still reeling from the political earthquakes of the past decade, inaugurates Donald Trump for a second term as president. The improbable had happened. Trump, after losing the 2020 election, had spent 4 years stoking the fires of grievance, claiming a stolen election, and positioning himself for a comeback. His message resonated with a segment of the population disillusioned with the political establishment, fearful of cultural changes, and receptive to Trump's brand of populist nationalism. Capitalizing on these anxieties, Trump successfully painted himself as the outsider, the strong man who could restore America to its former glory. His return sent shockwaves across the nation and the world. Allies watched with trepidation, uncertain of what to expect from a leader who had previously shown disdain for international cooperation. Opponents, both domestic and foreign, braced themselves for a turbulent era, fearing a resurgence of Trump's unpredictable and often aggressive policies. The stage was set for a consequential chapter in American history. The question on everyone's mind: would Trump's second act be a repeat performance, or would he govern differently this time around? The answer, as the world will soon discover, is a chilling blend of the familiar and the unprecedented. The specter of Trump's first term loomed large, casting a long shadow over the nation's capital. As he re-entered the Oval Office, determined to reshape the political landscape, his promise to drain the swamp had morphed into a vendetta against perceived enemies, both real and imagined, fueling a climate of fear and division. The Department of Justice, once a bastion of independence, may be a tool for political retribution, its integrity compromised. Investigations may be launched against former rivals, their scope seemingly driven more by vengeance than by evidence, undermining public trust. Journalists critical of the administration may face renewed pressure, their work scrutinized and their motives questioned. Threats of defamation lawsuits, a tactic honed during Trump's time outside the White House, became commonplace, stifling dissent. Access to information may be restricted, making it increasingly difficult for the press to hold the powerful accountable, a cornerstone of democracy. The chilling effect on free speech is undeniable, as fear of retribution silenced many voices. Even those who had served in Trump's own administration are not immune, facing backlash for any perceived disloyalty. Former officials who had dared to criticize the president or his policies have found themselves stripped of security clearances, their safety jeopardized by a leader who seemed to view loyalty as a one-way street, demanding unwavering allegiance. The message is clear: cross Donald Trump and face the consequences, a stark warning to all. The politicization of justice sent shockwaves through the legal system, shaking its very foundations. The rule of law, once a cornerstone of American democracy, has eroded under the weight of personal vendettas, threatening the very fabric of the nation. The very institutions designed to uphold fairness and impartiality were being warped to serve the interests of one man, leaving a nation to grapple with the consequences. Trump's second term is marked by a relentless push to consolidate power, a move that sent shockwaves through the political landscape. Congressional oversight, already weakened during his first presidency, faced further attempts at marginalization. The checks and balances that were designed to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful are being systematically eroded. Executive orders, once a tool used sparingly, is the go-to method for enacting policy, bypassing the legislative branch and eroding the system of checks and balances. This shift in governance style raised serious concerns about the future of democratic processes. The alarm bells reached a fever pitch when Trump, echoing his unsubstantiated claims of a rigged election in 2020, floated the idea of delaying the 2026 midterms. This unprecedented suggestion was met with widespread condemnation. The suggestion, though ultimately unsuccessful, sent chills down the spines of those who understood the fragility of democratic norms. It was a stark reminder of how easily the foundations of democracy could be shaken. If a president could unilaterally postpone elections, what was to stop him from clinging to power indefinitely? The implications were deeply troubling and raised questions about the future of American democracy. The guardrails of democracy, once thought to be unbreakable, were showing signs of strain. The very principles that held the nation together are being tested like never before. The peaceful transfer of power, a hallmark of American governance, was now being openly questioned by the president himself. This unprecedented challenge to a core democratic principle was alarming to many. The very foundation upon which the nation was built was teetering on the brink. The sense of stability and continuity that Americans had long taken for granted was now in jeopardy. The erosion of democratic norms extended beyond the halls of power. It permeated every aspect of society, creating a climate of uncertainty and fear. The relentless attacks on the media, the judiciary, and any institution deemed insufficiently loyal to the president created a climate of fear and distrust. The pillars of democracy were under siege. The fabric of American society, already frayed by years of political polarization, was being torn apart at the seams. The divisions were deepening, and the path to unity seemed increasingly elusive. The Trump administration's environmental policies could best be described as a full-throated embrace of fossil fuels, prioritizing the interests of the oil and gas industry above all else. And a dismissive shrug at the mounting evidence of a climate crisis, they ignore the scientific consensus on the urgent need for action. Regulations aimed to curb pollution will be rolled back with alarming speed, dismantling years of environmental protections, sacrificing the environment on the altar of short-term economic gains, with little regard for the long-term consequences. The withdrawal from international climate agreements, a hallmark of Trump's first term, remained in place, signaling a retreat from global cooperation. The United States, once a leader in global efforts to combat climate change, President Trump plans to turn his back on the world. It has become an outlier, a pariah nation unwilling to shoulder its responsibility in addressing a challenge that transcended borders, affecting every corner of the globe. The consequences of this inaction may become increasingly difficult to ignore, while we witness more frequent and severe natural disasters. Extreme weather events, from hurricanes to wildfires, were growing in frequency and intensity, leaving devastation in their wake. To droughts, were growing in frequency and intensity, disrupting ecosystems and human livelihoods alike. Coastal communities are facing the grim reality of rising sea levels, threatening homes and infrastructure, while farmers grapple with unpredictable growing seasons, making it harder to sustain their crops and livestock. The human and economic toll of climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a present-day reality, affecting millions. With this present-day reality, communities across the nation are feeling the impact. Yet the Trump administration remain unmoved, steadfast in denial and inaction. Calls for action from scientists, activists, and even some within the business community are met with indifference or outright hostility, stifling progress and innovation. The planet, it seems, could wait as the administration prioritizes other agendas. The pursuit of short-term profits and the appeasement of a fossil fuel-dependent base will take precedence over the long-term health of the planet. The appeasement of the fossil fuel-dependent base will take precedence over the long-term health of the planet, while ignoring the broader implications and the well-being of future generations who will inherit the consequences of today's inaction. As the Trump administration's turn towards isolationism, it will reshape the geopolitical landscape. As the United States withdraws from international agreements and alliances, the world waits with bated breath. Long-standing partnerships will fracture, and new alliances will be formed in response. The global balance of power has shifted, and has created uncertainty and tension. This era marked a significant departure from the collaborative efforts that have defined previous decades. The ripple effects of these decisions will be felt worldwide, altering the course of international relations for years to come. In 2025, the fabric of American society will face an unprecedented strain. Social discord will show a daily reality, driven by divisive policies and rhetoric. Civil rights, hard-won through decades of struggle, are being eroded under the weight of new legislation and executive orders. Communities will find themselves grappling with increased surveillance, reduced freedoms, and a growing sense of uncertainty about the future. The economic policies of the 2025 Trump administration may be marked by short-term gains, but can carry significant long-term risks. Tax cuts and deregulation may provide a temporary boost to the economy, yet the poor and middle class may suffer. White House plans to freeze federal grant programs, infrastructure and DEI projects could fall short of their goal of job creation. Experts warned that these policies, including federal government restructuring, could lead to financial instability, increased national debt, or a lack of needed government services, which cast a shadow over the nation's economic future. Amidst the turmoil, grassroots activism have emerged as a beacon of hope. Ordinary citizens driven by a desire for change are organizing protests, community meetings, and advocacy campaigns. These activists are working tirelessly to hold leaders accountable, champion civil rights, and promote social justice. Their resilience and determination will highlight the power of collective action, even in the face of significant adversity. In these turbulent times, safeguarding democracy becomes more critical than ever. Civic engagement, voter education, and protecting the integrity of elections are paramount. Despite numerous challenges, citizens and organizations across the country are dedicating themselves to preserving democratic values. Their efforts underscore the importance of vigilance and participation in maintaining a healthy and functioning democracy.